2019 really has been a fantastic year for cinema. And if I had to make a list of my top 5 movies right here and right now, I would include 1917 on that list. It's not out in most major markets right now. In fact, only 11 theatres in the entirety of America have the movie. It's getting its soft release for Oscar consideration and will get its wide release in about 2 to 3 weeks. So when it does come out, please go see it. I had the privilege of seeing it about a week ago, and I have been holding my tongue because I don't want to ruin the experience for anybody. But I am making my little 2019 retrospective, and now I get the opportunity to gush a little bit about the movie. Directed by Sir Samuel Mendes, knighted yesterday as of my recording, and with cinematography by Roger Deacon, soundtrack by Thomas Newman. The movie is set during World War I, which doesn't really get too much attention in most Hollywood blockbusters. You get Wonder Woman and Dunkirk are recent examples. Wonder Woman was phenomenal in the way that it portrayed the No Man's Land sequence, and Dunkirk was a technically proficient movie with an amazing soundtrack, but I was not fond of the script. This movie, however, is an amazing portrayal of the war. If you have ever seen Blackadder Goes Forth, that does a very good comedic but very good representation of the conflict, and this movie really takes everything that I learned in school and I've seen from photographs and the Peter Jackson documentary that came out last year, and I really did feel like it brought to life the true terror of that conflict. It didn't include anything like the machine guns or the mustard gas, but it definitely did have a lot of that tired, worn out, dragged on war where people are dying for inches of land. Especially at Christmas time, I could say that there are a lot of songs which were popularized from World War One. I always think about "Wish I Was at Home for Christmas," but that is besides the point. That's World War One, and this movie does a good job portraying it. The main features of the movie are that it is a one-shot. Well, not an actual one-shot, not like some of the movies that have come out in recent years, which were 100% single takes, more simulated one take, much like Birdman. And in terms of Birdman, Deacon actually does the same natural lighting thing that the cinematographer for The Revenant did. So they're copying a lot of what recently got Oscar buzz and doing a very decent job with it, combining those two things into one. I won't go too deep into the storyline because I do want you all to enjoy it, but the story is Lance Corporal Schofield and Lance Corporal Blake are given a mission to transport a message across enemy lines to Benedict Cumberbatch's character, who has seen that the German forces are retreating, and they finally have a chance to strike them while their backs are turned. But Colin Firth's character, he has aerial footage that shows that there is a line of German soldiers that they are retreating into who are going to ambush the British soldiers when they follow. In other words, it's going to be a massacre. Everybody will die if they go ahead with this mission that starts at daybreak. So they have about 12 to 16 hours to travel 9 miles, which includes going across the front. Because the German forces have retreated, there is a belief that there will be no retaliation once they cross the line, but they still have to get through the barbed wire and they have to go through the German side of the trenches. The acting is phenomenal. I'm going to use that word a lot because it is the only word that I can really think of to describe it. I believe that one of the characters who is at the front of the British forces right on the trenches, and his job is basically to send people over the edge to die. He was played by BBC Moriarty, and it reminded me, oh wow, sorry, I saw you in Spectre and I saw you in BBC Sherlock. I kind of thought you were a one-note pony, but you actually have some chops to you. So I apologise for any negativity I gave in the past, because that is definitely the look of a person who your only job is to waste resources, and those resources are human lives, and you have been doing this so long that you've just become desensitized to it. You are tired. They basically have him say that, if you're going to die, could you at least throw the flare gun back? It's that kind of war. So let's talk a little bit about the soundtrack. For the most part, it really does blend in pretty well, but there's one particular sequence where they begin the night shooting. The first shot of the French city at night, the soundtrack is transcendent, and you're getting the natural light that is only fires that were set up by the German forces, and it really is atmospheric. The human moments in the movie are what sell it the most for me. Dunkirk had this idea that everybody is the same in war. Everybody has no name. They all look the same. They have no essence to them, which is why the French character was able to blend in with the British guys so much, and you didn't even realise that he couldn't speak English until like an hour into the movie. This movie is a lot firmer on the idea that we're all in this together, that we're all pushing against this force that could potentially harm, kill, destroy our way of life. And you have the people like the Moriarty, who is just worn down by it all. You have conversations about silly things like medals or meals. The priorities are completely skewed because we're in insane times, but you get that humanity. I learned a lot about the main two characters' families and their perspectives on the lives that they've left behind. Again, without going too deep into things, Blake is a very idealistic person. He's somebody with hopes and aspirations who wants to use the war to do something. And he's going on this mission to save his brother. He was given the mission and told that your brother is part of this battalion, and if you don't get this message to him, he's going to die. So he's full of pep. He's really driven. And Schofield, he's done. He's received the medal before, and he had to go home, see his family, and come back. And that wears so heavy on him because he's resigned to the fact that he's likely to die. And this is a suicide mission. They're going, two people traveling lightly over this space where so many lives rely on them. The human moments, though, are fantastic. They bump into another battalion several miles in and travel by truck for a little bit. And while he's on the back of the truck, listening to some people telling a story that's halfway through, and you're really getting a sense of camaraderie between the people in the truck and how othered our main characters are. And they start reaching out to them, like asking what your mission is, and they get the gravity of how doomed they are. And everybody's just got this calm, quiet reverence of, you're doing a good thing. I wish you luck. Don't die. And another really beautiful sequence that takes up a much needed 10 to 15 minutes of downtime at a certain point where a connection is made. It's just... I get what Nolan was trying to do with Dunkirk, but I don't like the idea of the people in war are disposable individuals that are just thrown at a conflict, and that they could die and that they could be replaced, and they don't stand out in a conflict because when you're in the middle of a war, everything's all the same. It's a message, fantastic, but especially the truck scene, I really did feel a massive humanity in these people. I felt like every person on that truck had a life back home, that they had their own frustrations about fighting in a country that wasn't their own. They felt dragged down by how long the conflict had been going on and how unsupported they were by the politicians and by the leaders and the generals. It's just... Okay, I'm going to spoil one scene before I finish my little recap here. If you don't want to hear about a specific scene, then stop watching right now, please. There's your warning. Every now and again when I'm watching a film, I see a sequence that just blows me away from every part of its cinematic language. It's taking acting, blocking, cinematography, soundtrack, lighting, color grading, all of these things, and just combining them into something that I consider to be perfect. There are going to be YouTube videos dissecting this one shot during the movie, and the entire movie is one shot, but one of the characters, Schofield, is in a French town occupied by the German forces. It's the middle of the night. He's just had a sequence where he's had some downtime, but he could feel time is on his back. When that sun rises, so many people are going to die. He can get through the town fairly unimpeded because of the darkness. There's not that many Germans. He gets spotted. It's gunfire. Fortunately, it's dark enough that they can't get him. They're firing at him, and you get the illumination from every muzzle flare. And you have the orange glow of the bonfires set up. But for the most part, he's safe. He hides behind a building. Germans are aware that somebody might be here, but it's pretty low security right now. It's very calm. He moves from the back of one building and bumps directly into a German soldier. He begins to freak out, puts his hand on his face, stares at him, says in English, "Don't scream, don't scream, stay quiet." Releases him. He begins trying to call out for help. He puts him down and then drags him to the ground and starts to strangle him. The camera follows this motion because the entire movie is one shot. You have a frame where 80% of the screen is Schofield strangling this German soldier. The German soldier is groping, smashing his boots against the ground, trying so desperately to cling on to his life. In the background, about 12 meters away, there's a small little bonfire set up inside a trash can. It glows orange and fills up the entire screen with its light, its orange glow. The silhouette that's taking up 80% of the screen is just pure darkness. You can see some of the architecture behind, but for the most part, you just have Schofield strangling this man. A black shadow that takes up the majority of the screen, and a lonely little light in the background. Your eye is driven to that light because it's the only bit of light in the scene. Yes, there is a gigantic looming figure that is taking up the entire frame, but there's barely any light on this side of the screen. The orange flicker, that's where your eye goes. This goes on for about 45 seconds. The German soldier is banging his feet, trying so desperately to get somebody's attention. The German soldier saunters on, starts warming his hands on the fire. My heart stopped. I'm watching this. My eye is drawn to the flame, and therefore to the German soldier, who is doing nothing but warming his hands right now. But at any point he could see what's happening. And he turns, slowly approaches the camera. Go see the movie to watch the rest. I cried 3 times. And this is one of those movies where the dedication was another moment that made me cry. This is the most heartfelt depiction of war that I have seen since Saving Private Ryan. It's going to be compared to Saving Private Ryan a lot, which is unfair because Private Ryan is a lot more of a developed movie. It is far more funded. It has a larger space to explore, a lot more set pieces. It has that gigantic battle at the beginning and the end. 1917 doesn't have too much in the way of big set pieces. It's a lot more grounded. But it has so much heart. It has a fantastic script, fantastic performances, the best cinematography that you'll see this year. I rate it so highly. If it wasn't for movies like The Lighthouse, Parasite, heck, there are a couple others which don't necessarily go into the greats, but I really liked Booksmart. I just felt the script on that was tight as hell. But it is definitely one of the top 5 that came out this year. And I not only recommend it, I am buying it day one on Blu-ray. I'm going to watch it again when it comes out in theaters for real. And I can't speak highly enough of it. This movie got the man knighted. Congratulations, Sir Samuel Mendes. I'll never talk about Spectre again.